DEBx, amplifying voices, accelerating change.
Please help me welcome to the stage, Toni Allen.
This is an ampersand. It's a symbol for the word and. You see it in brands like AT&T, Dolce & Gabbana, Black & Decker. It's the literal contraction of and per se and. It was once the 27th letter of the alphabet. Yep, little kids in the 19th century would end their ABCs with ampersand. I use this tiny and powerful symbol as a guide to living life. In fact, I have ampersands all over my house because they remind me of the pursuit of this. I call it an and life. Having an and life is the kind of life that has us consider having it all. Now, in reality, you may not want to have it all or even actually be able to have it all because, I don't want to eat a whole box of donuts in one sitting. We all know the ramifications of that. But striving for an and life has us open up to all possible options for fulfilling on what we want. This is an everyday phenomenon. Just this week, a friend of mine was trying to work out his Mother's Day plans. He was really struggling because his mom wanted him to come to her house at 9 a.m. and stay pretty much all day. His sisters, who are also moms, were going to come and go throughout the day, but his mother-in-law also had a full day planned as well. This was causing an upset between him and his wife, trying to figure out how to make all this work. So I just suggested, what if you could have an and life? I simply asked the question, what if? What if you could visit both families? He immediately saw he could just ask his mother-in-law to push back her mealtime. They could go to both families' house on Sunday, problem solved. Having an and life is that simple, if you're just willing to stop and ask, what if? Consider, though, that most people don't live an and life. Maybe some people do in some areas, but I assert it's not an everyday, all-area kind of phenomenon. It's not natural, normal, like you live in it all the time. Instead, many of us are living an or life, a life of settling for options that we see right in front of us. Take a look at your own life. You might notice you're not living an and life when you say, I can have this or that. And that's a simple way it shows up. It may sound like I could work in a profession that makes me really happy, or I could settle for the job that pays the bills. I can go to the gym, or I can watch Game of Thrones. That's what I say. In this case, it shows up as a choice, an either or. There's no other options to consider. But more often, it really sounds like, I want this, but I can't have it. Just like my friend, he wanted to go to both his mom's houses, but he thought he couldn't. We become so stuck in this either or life that we've forgotten there are a lot more options to consider and beyond the ones that first show up and present themselves. Can you see you've given up on something maybe that you wanted, and then maybe you even justified not wanting it? We end up living something less than an and life because we stop wanting it. And, you can blame your parents for that. Sorry, Mom. When we were little, our parents purposefully narrowed down our choices for us, and it was with good intention. I bet when you went grocery shopping with your parents, you wanted more in the cart than they did. They may have had a limited budget. Maybe they just thought one was enough. But for sure, you could have only the Fruity Pebbles or the Captain Crunch. You were probably upset because you wanted both boxes of cereals. I did for sure. But it was likely a good reason your parents gave you one option. Just like a dog is trained over time and repetition to become conditioned, we narrow our options down over time. And then we justify those decisions. We talk ourselves into being fine Fine, I'm fine. And we don't realize we're settling. Well, I didn't want Fruity Pebbles anyway. In my case, I never wanted to get married. Anybody who knows me will tell you that. From as far back as I can remember, I thought marriage was dumb. Maybe I thought it was unnecessary. Either way, marriage meant to me that I would have to give up my independence. I'm a very independent woman, and I was not going to settle. Over the years, I even created a list of reasons why people shouldn't get married. Not just me, but everybody. Reasons why people should not get married. I had made up my mind, and then I accumulated the reasons to justify that. Then in 2016, I was at a wedding in Guadalajara, Mexico. I shared a table with a woman who her husband had just died 2 years earlier of brain cancer. She cried. That still moves me. She cried when she talked about the hardship, the loss, the sadness. But she beamed. 2 years later, still beamed when she shared the love that they had for each other and the compassion that came up over the years. She shared with me who she got to be in the end when he was having this hard time. He was pushing her away. He didn't want her to see him dealing with this terrible sickness. But she said, no, I made a promise till death do us part. For the first time, I saw in marriage something new, something different that I'd never seen before. And I realized that's what I wanted. Listening to her completely changed what I thought about marriage. It had me question what I believed for years, which was that I would have to sacrifice something, sacrifice my independence or be married. Either or, marriage or independence. But what if I didn't have to do that? What if I could keep my independence, have all this freedom, all those things that she's described, many of them I'd never even thought of, like partnership, laughter on a daily basis, true friendship. I wonder what it might be like to experience all these things and still feel like I'm me. I don't have to give anything up. This wondering, asking what if, that's the thing. In any area of life that you're not experiencing an and life, stop and ask the question, what if? What if I could have this and that? What if I was even willing to want this and that? Be curious enough to wonder, to consider how you could have everything. It's so simple, and it's available to anyone who's willing to consider what if. The end life, well, it's an ongoing process. It takes being mindful, but it will leave you more excited about your options, your choices in life, who you get to be, what results and experiences you get to have in life. It has way fewer sacrifices and way less disappointment than in our life. When I saw I was living less than an and life, I stopped and I said, what if? And something magical and quite surprising happened. This is me. Well, me and my husband. When I saw I only had two choices, marriage or independence, I stopped and asked, what if? And look, I didn't change my last name. You heard them announce me. I'm a very independent woman. But I changed my salutation from Miss to Mrs. And what came with it, I can't find you, but what came with it is a man who loves me, unlike I've ever experienced. A whole new level of fulfillment and these crazy adventures, especially for somebody who never wanted to get married. Thank you.